Good evening. I'm Brandy Burnwald, the Director of Alumni Relations at Ferris State University, and I'm so excited for our January social hour, A Winter Paint and Sip. Tonight, we're going to follow along and get direction to paint an adorable winter snowman. It might be a tad chilly outside tonight if you're local to the Big Rapids area, but for those of you joining us from warmer climates, we hope this little snowman reminds you of fun winter activities from your time in Michigan. Those that registered and are following along tonight will have all the supplies needed to complete the painting. You will only need a container or two of water to clean your brushes, perhaps some paper towel or a napkin to dry the bristles, and a palette or paper plate to mix your paints. Oh, and don't forget your favorite beverage. If you are joining along on Facebook Live and don't have the supplies, no worries. We will post all the necessary materials you need, and you can always go back at a later date and review tonight's activity. Direction for the painting is about an hour. Anytime during the presentation or at the end, you may click the Ask a Question button near the bottom of your screen. And here is a little bit about our special guest this evening. Carrie Weiss is an artist, curator, and educator. She holds an MFA in painting from Kendall College of Art and Design and a BIS in studio art and art history from Ferris State University. Carrie has been painting for over 30 years, and her art has been exhibited regionally and nationally in solo and group exhibitions. Carrie is the museum and gallery director at Ferris, overseeing the art gallery, university collections, and the Card Riley Conservation and Wildlife Education Center, where she has curated hundreds of exhibitions and designed educational programs for youth and adult audiences. In addition, Carrie has taught numerous undergrad art courses at Ferris in drawing and painting. And so with that, I now turn it over to Carrie to begin her presentation of A Winter Paint and Sip.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Brandy. I want to thank the Alumni Association for putting this event on. And I know everybody is excited to get painting. We're going to start, we've got about an hour to complete an entire painting, which is, really fast, but we're going to try and get it done. So the image I chose, I found online. I have to let everybody know that this is not my original image, and it's really important to give credit to the original artist. I unfortunately could not find an artist name associated with this image, but we're using it tonight for educational purposes. And it's a winter snow scene, which is really appropriate for our environment at the moment. And we're going to go ahead and get started. I have pre-drawn my snowman, but I'm going to use my marker and talk you through. We have to draw this first. It's really important to get the form down and make sure that you've got your snowman properly drawn before we get painting. So with that, I'm going to give you some instruction. Now I want to make sure that along with your kit, there are some extra things that you need. So if you need a few minutes, you're going to want some clean water. I just use old jars. Paper cups are good too, but I like to use 2 jars of water. I like to have a clean water for mixing paints and one for cleaning brushes. When you clean your brushes in a water container, sometimes that will affect your color usage. So I like to use 2 separate water containers. You'll also want some paper towel or a rag if you have rags. And then you need a paint palette. I've got this one. but you can also use like a Tupperware lid. But this is what we're going to be mixing our paints on tonight. So hopefully everybody's prepared. If you need a few minutes to get those things, that's fine. What we're going to do first is draw out our snowman. And we want to make sure that the scale is appropriate. We don't want him too big and we don't want him too small. And so what I've done is kind of prepared some guidelines for how to draw your snowman out. We're going to have a background and a foreground. Foreground is going to be snow, background is going to be sky. And you want your background to be just under, if you find kind of the halfway mark on your canvas, you want to draw just a little underneath it. So halfway is too high, but maybe about 1.5 inches underneath the halfway mark. And this is where you're going to use your Sharpie. My Sharpie dried out, so I had to get a different marker. And the paint will cover the marker, so you don't have to worry too much about the lines that you make with your marker. So at about the halfway point, just underneath, we're going to draw in the ground. This is where your snow is, and this is where your sky is. And so we're going to make the ground mark on either side of our snowman. Now, to get the scale correct on your snowman, you're going to want to be about 2 inches from the top and just make a mark there. This is going to be the top of the hat. So about 2 inches down and about the center of your painting, make a mark for the top of your hat. And then I know everybody's hands are a little different, but if you do a thumb to pinky ratio, that's going to be about the bottom of your snowman. And so you can make a little mark to measure the bottom of your snowman. Now, the biggest snowball is, of course, the bottom. And you're going to do about the same pinky to thumb ratio. And you just want to make a little mark. That's going to be the width of the bottom of the snowman. And then the middle snowball is about half. So if you measure about half, and make another mark, that's going to be about where the head of your snowman is. Now when we draw the sides, it's really kind of like a set of parentheses. You don't want a full circle. I'm going to draw, and it doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be perfect. Snowmen aren't perfect. But you do the kind of your parentheses down to touch that bottom line. And then the next set, another set of parentheses, basically. This one is not a full circle either. And then another set of parentheses basically creates his head. So we've got the bottom, the middle, the head, and now we need to draw the hat. The bottom of the hat is just a curve. It's a nice curve. And then you can draw in 2 vertical lines. And to create the cat, you just connect those vertical lines to the curve you created. Okay, so we're having trouble seeing the lines. So I'm bringing this in a little bit. So again, you've got the bottom of your snowman, you've got curves that are just kind of like parentheses. The middle of your snowman is another smaller set of parentheses. And then the top, and it doesn't have to be, we're not doing circles here. And then the top, the hat is just a curve, a couple of vertical lines, a horizontal line. Okay. So we basically have our snowman shape drawn, and we want to add some of the details. We want the stick arms and the scarf and the facial features. So the eyes, the carrot nose. I'll bring it in again. So if you use your marker, just draw little circles for his eyes. And his nose is basically a triangle. But instead of a straight line, we want to curve that a little bit. We want it to have a curve so that it shows some dimension, some 3-dimensional. And then you can even draw in the mouth. Make him happy. Give him a little smile. Put the one on the end a little higher so he's a little happy. And then we're going to draw in the scarf. So we want to round the scarf. Don't want a straight line. We want to curve it a little bit. And then just follow his neckline. And make it however thick you want. About 1/4 of an inch is good. And then do the same with the other side. Little curve. A little drawing. Now, the scarf is going to have an overlap. You want one underneath the other. So one part of the scarf is going to start underneath. And you can draw that however you want, down, kind of a vertical line. And then the top part of the scarf is going to curve at the top. You want to curve that. And then that overlaps. So you've curved the top. And you've drawn down, across, and back up. So he looks like he has a scarf. All right. So now we're going to do the arms next. And these are branches. They're not straight lines. Branches have curves and knots. But you want to bring it out almost to the edge, maybe about an inch away from the edge. And it's going to be thick. So you draw a top line and a bottom line, and you want it to go in beyond the edge of the snowman. You want it to go in a little bit, and then again, curve that line instead of a straight line. Try and curve it a little bit. And everybody's going to do something a little different, but then you make some branches. Maybe go up with some, out with some. Just make some happy branches there. So we're going to do that with the other side too. So if you have one branch done, you can start on the second one. Again, bring it in, the inside of the snowman, beyond his side. And then add some interesting forms. This one, almost take it right to the very edge. Try and get it right to the very edge. Maybe one down below. And then we have a bird, a little bird to draw. So we're going to put the bird kind of close to the snowman. And he's sitting on the branch with his tail feathers behind. And this is just kind of a U shape of the letter U. And then for his breast, just a nice little rounded shape. And his back, this is almost like another little set of parentheses. And then his head is rounded. And another little triangle for his beak. So that should get you a snowman with a hat and a scarf and some branches. Now the last thing I'm going to ask you to draw in is maybe some snowball forms. Just some curves. That gives us a little texture for the ground. You can do like maybe 5 or 6 of them. Maybe one on this side as well. And I'm going to add one that runs all the way to the edge there. So hopefully everybody now has their snowman drawn. You could also add buttons. Buttons on his chest. All right, so at this point, this is now when we can put the marker down and start mixing paint, which is the fun part, right? That's the fun part. So hopefully you all have a palette now, and we're going to start by painting the background. We're going to paint the sky. And you've been given a couple of colors. And we're going to mix. We're going to do a fair amount of mixing tonight. So we're going to start with our blue, our blue sky. And let's see if I can show you.
Here's mine.
Oh, very nice. Great job.
Mine looks like it's eaten a little too many ho-hos or put on some winter weight. But we're getting there.
Great. I wish I could see everybody's painting, right? I wish I could.
All right, Carrie, you're doing great.
Great. Yours looks great, Brandy. That's wonderful. Okay, so we've got a little bit of blue. And we've got a little white. And we've got a little black. And I'm going to suggest for this one, you use the largest brush that was in your kit. It's important to get your brush wet before you start mixing. It helps move the paint around a little bit. So just dab it in your water. Let's see if I can show this. So blue, white, and a little bit of black. Very little black. I might even need a little more blue on my palette. So now I've got a pretty nice mix of a soft blue, and we're going to start applying the paint, and I'm going to suggest that you use what we call painterly strokes. We want a little bit of texture, and so what I mean by that is that you apply the paint in kind of quick movements. I use both sides of the brush. And then try and paint along the lines that you've drawn. And if you run out, you just mix some more. So when I get to the edge of the snowman, I turn my brush sideways. And apply the paint just from the edge. So there's a lot of background to fill in. All right. So how's everybody doing? I've got my sky in. I'm hoping everybody's. I know I paint really fast. They're telling me to slow down. So we'll give everybody a few minutes to catch up. If your paint application is too thin, you can always go over with a second coat. All right. I've done a second. Okay, we have a question. All right, so there's a question about why did I select glossy paint and not regular paint? The main reason is that once it dries, it'll have a nice gloss finish. A matte paint will have a flat surface, and a lot of artists will use, we call it a Damar varnish. There's a Damar varnish that artists use after their painting is dry, and they apply it so that it has a really glossy finish once you're finished. But with the acrylics, there's a gloss version, and you don't have to apply a varnish. Once your painting is done, it'll have a nice gloss finish already. So, does everybody have their sky in? I don't want to move too fast. We're going to kind of paint down. So now that our background sky is in, we're going to start working on the snowman. We'll start with his hat, and then we'll work down. Now the hat is pretty much just black, although you might want to add just a little bit of white to it so that it's not so that it has a little value to it. I'm going to select, it's a nice little square brush. It's a lot smaller than the one we just used. And if you can find your little square brush. There's another question. Do acrylic paints blend on the canvas? Acrylic paints dry really, really quickly. It's harder to blend acrylics than it is if you're using oil paints. But you can blend as long as the paint is still wet, as long as it's still malleable. And so if you want to do a lot of blending, you have to work pretty quickly with paint, with oil or acrylic paints. So what I'm doing, I've got black, and I'm just blending a little white, so it's more like a charcoal gray for the hat. I'm using this nice little square brush. And then we're going to be a lot more slow and careful. When we're applying the paint for the hat. Now, if your paint is dry and it's not moving across the canvas very well, you can just dip your brush in the water, which I'm doing. And then adding a little water to the paint, and that will help it move around a little better. So I'm just filling in the lines that I drew for the hat. And then after the hat dries, we're going to add a little bit of white paint to add a little bit of like snow on top of the rim and on top, the very top of the hat. But we're going to let that dry. And we're going to start painting the snowman. So white paint on white canvas doesn't show very well. We want to blend our colors a little bit. And we're going to start with our shadows. We've got some shadows on this snowman. So we want mostly white, but with some of that blue that we used for the sky, we want to add a little bit of that kind of blue gray. I don't know if you can see it very well. But I'm pulling white into that kind of blue-gray. I don't want it to be too dark. But I want to use this on kind of the shadow side of the snowman. And our shadow side is going to be on the right side of the snowman. And brush strokes and mark making is really important. So we're not going to do strokes. We're going to kind of dab. I'm going to dab the paint on. And I'm starting underneath his scarf. And if you notice, I'm dabbing and I'm dabbing kind of the edge of the sky so that it has a nice soft effect. And then you can continue down. That whole right side. And I'm going to make a shadow even between the scarf. And then once you've created your shadow all the way down, then you want to introduce more white into the snowman. So I'm blending more white. So you've got an even lighter shade. You can't really see that very well. Um, but we're going to continue to dab. So that you've got some really nice texture happening. And then as you move from left to right, you want your snowman to get lighter and lighter. So keep pulling in more white. And I'm kind of working up and down the snowman. Now, I don't know that I'll have pure white anywhere. I really want to make this look like a painting. So my snowman may look somewhat gray instead of pure white. Kind of work around the buttons. All right, we have another question. If I made a mistake, should I wait for the paint to dry to paint over? That's a good question. If you've made a mistake, this paint will dry really pretty quickly. So, yes, I would just wait a few minutes and then make whatever correction you need to make. So, this is a little time consuming, filling in the snowman. All right, now I'm going to do his head. Same thing with his head. You want a little shadow on the right side. So that dabbing technique should give you some really nice texture on your snowman. You can't see it very well through video, but I'm sure if you're doing this, you can really see it in your own painting. And you can always, if you're not real happy with it and you want more 3 dimensions, you can wait till it dries a little bit and you can add white highlights. All right. So if you have your snowman pretty much filled in, we're going to move on to its scarf. So for the scarf, I'm not going to do a lot of blending. I'm going to just use the blue straight out of the tube. At this point, I'm going to still use this little brush. I'm going to clean it first. Get all the other paint out of it. And then I just want a really bright blue scarf. So with this one, we're going to use a slightly different brush stroke instead of that dabbing, because we're creating texture. I'm going to kind of follow the curve. I'm not going to paint across. this way. I'm going to touch the top edge and pull it down to the bottom edge. And then when I'm doing the ends of the scarf, I'm going to go ahead and pull it all the way down. And with the scarf, that's the part that's underneath, I want a little shadow under there. So I'm going to add some of the black to my blue just to make a little shadow. Pull it down. And I'm going to do that. You can't see it very well, but I'm going to do the same on either side of that part of the scarf that overlaps. Add a little gray shadow so that that top layer really pops out. All right. So next are his arms. We didn't give you a brown because you got to mix your brown. And the way you mix your brown is you add complements. So blue and orange are complements. And they will turn a really muddy brown. So you got your orange. And just a little tiny bit will do it. Still using the same little brush. I am going to mix the blue and the brown, or the blue and the orange. And if you're getting kind of a green color, add a little black. So blue, orange, and black. It's going to give you a brownish, grayish, brash color. And the reason we do this instead of buying a brown is because it adds color harmony. When you use the same colors, when you're mixing them together, it creates a harmonious color palette. I don't know if you can see it, but this is the kind of color I'm getting from mixing those. And then we're going to use just the edge of our brush and very carefully paint in our branches. I'm using just the side of the brush, a little bit of paint. And I'm kind of drawing with my paintbrush. Kind of like you draw with a pencil. Paint on a brush. All right, so how's everybody doing? Everybody have stick arms? You might need a second coat. This is a light application. So if you're seeing canvas underneath your paint, you just let it dry a little bit and do a second application. Right, so we're going to save all the little tiny details for the very last. What we want to do now is kind of fill in the bottom part, and we want shadows again. So because, white snow is just white and it's not going to be very interesting. So if you've drawn in your forms, your kind of like little snow mounds or snowballs, those are going to be things that you want to add shadows to. And we want our shadow to be consistent with what's on the snowman. We're going to use a bigger brush because there's a lot of ground to cover. I think I'm going to use my sponge, and I'm going to get it wet first. Get it wet and then squeeze out the extra water. You might need to load up again with some blue, some white, and black. That's what I'm doing. And then I'm going to use the sponge. And I'm going to just kind of pull in a little bit of black and a little bit of blue. Make a shadow color. And I'm going to start dabbing. We're going to dab again. Kind of dab around those forms. Kind of from the top of the form to the right side. And it's going to be mostly a lot of light gray or white. Like really load up your sponge. Start doing the back. And being a little uneven is okay. Like some soft snow mounds back there. I'm even going to introduce a little more blue. So there's some interesting color variation happening. Fill in those. You might have to use the edge sometimes, or the side. The side will give you a thicker application in larger areas. Kind of fun to just dab it in the blue. Some of that blue introduced down to the bottom. White. So for the large areas, I'm turning my sponge sideways. Really loading it up with paint. And doing that gives you a really nice kind of snowy, fluffy texture. Sometimes painting is all about patience. All right. So, how's everybody doing? Do we have a snowy background? Snowy foreground? This is the fun part. You can keep playing with this as long as you want. You can add more blue or more white. Play with your snowball forms. All right, but we've got to finish him up. So we've got a few little details in the bird to finish. We're going to use one of our really small brushes. I'm going to use this really tiny little brush. It's kind of rounded. And we're going to start with the carrot nose. It's going to be mostly orange. Although orange straight out of the tube might be a little bright. So you might want to add just a little blue to it. Tone it down just a little bit. Thinking about color harmony. And then very, very carefully paint in your carrot nose. I usually end up putting my pinky on the painting to help steady my hand. Your sky should be dry enough so that you can do that. So like I'll put my pinky down. And then just kind of draw like a pencil. Get his nose in there. I don't know if you can see it very well. So he's got his little carrot nose. And then we're just going to use black for his eyes and his mouth and his buttons. So again, with your little tiny brush, fill in his eyes. And then his mouth. And just little circular motions. And then his buttons. Again, just little circular motions. And And our bird, we're going to kind of use that same brown that we used on the branches, although I'm going to add a little more black so he's a little darker than the branch. I'm needing a little water to thin the paint out just a little bit. And he's pretty much just kind of a silhouette of a bird, so we're not going to add a lot of detail to him. And then now that our hat is dry, we're going to go back with a little bit of white, give it a little snow covering just to give it a little extra form. So there's a little snow sitting on the rim, and there's a little snow sitting on the top. So again, take your little brush, load it up with some white, and then again, we're going to dab just along the top. Like it's got a little snow sitting on it. Maybe not too much, just a little bit. Gives it a little three-dimensional form. And then pretty much all you have to do is sign it. Put your name down at the bottom. And I think you got a snowman painting. So are there any questions? I think we ran a little longer than we were supposed to. But if y'all hung in there with me, I would love to see your paintings. Maybe take pictures of them.
Well, I'm still working. It's a work in progress.
Okay.
But I definitely.
Yeah, it looks like a snowman. It's great. Very nice.
Well, this was a ton of fun. I had a lot of fun going through a little bit of frustration at times, but I learned a lot. And as we wrap this up, I'm going to spend a little bit more time putting my extra touches in there and making it look pretty good. So thank you so much, Carrie. We appreciate this more than you know today. So
Wonderful.
thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. As a reminder, if you missed any part of the presentation or would like to go back and review a section, this demonstration will be found beginning tomorrow on this website under past events or our Facebook page at Ferris Alumni. Also, we would love to see your creations, so feel free to share a picture of your boards on our Facebook site, and don't forget to tag us in the post at Ferris Alumni. And if you would like to join us next month for our Alumni Social Hour, then check out our registration page for the details on Love in Art, a Valentine's celebration. That presentation will be Thursday, February 11th at 7 o'clock, brought to you by our very own Rachel Falk. Dr. Falk is a professor of art history at Ferris State. She holds a PhD in art history from Emory with a specialization in ancient Greek and Roman art. So for more information on that, the Love in Art presentation, you can find that on our website at ferris.edu/alumni. Again, a special thank you tonight to Carrie. I hope everybody had a great time and enjoy your evening. Bye-bye, Bulldogs.